I guess we can go ahead and get started. We've got a tight group today. That's cool. That more opportunity for conversation and engagement. So welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. This is the Friday Forum presented by Pathstone Enterprise Center. I will be your MC for the event for the next hour. But you're only going to hear my voice a little bit because we have three incredible panelists here today, and I will introduce them in just a minute. First, I want to give you some Pathstone announcements and then talk to you about the best ways to engage with us today and after today. So if you're a woman entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur who's a woman and you are looking to gain some education and meet with like-minded women, please join us for She Means Business. This is a free series that starts at the end of this month. So March 30th, that starts, and we'll be going over everything from creating your idea and writing your business plan and formulating your pitch, and then understanding financial projections, financial reporting, and then how to go to market, how to run your business, and everything in between. So please join us for that. It's a 13-week course, so it's a little longer than you're probably used to, but we have 26 classes in those 13 weeks, twice a week, Tuesday and Thursday nights. So check that out. Totally free. We're able to do that because of sponsors. They allow us to do that for free. So She Means Business. If you have registered for She Means Business, be aware that on the 18th of this month, we have our open house. So from 6 to 7 on the 18th of March, come in and join us for our open house. We get to talk to your new classmates. You get to talk to some of the presenters, and then the leaders of the class, Yasmin Maddox and Kimberly Mitchell, will be there as well. And we'll all get to kind of get together and understand what we're going to cover in She Means Business. If you've applied for She Means Business and you've not turned in your documentation, you need 2 to 3 letters of reference, professional letters of reference, your resume, and you need to fill out the survey by the 22nd of March. So you've got a couple weeks, 2.5 weeks there to get that in by the 22nd of March. We'll need all that in so we can get you registered and make sure we get you signed up for She Means Business. Also, Jahida and I did a pretty cool podcast yesterday. I got to kind of interview Jahida, which was a lot of fun. We both got to talk about our moms, and she's going to drop the link in the chat right there. Awesome. She's always ahead of me. I love it. And Jahida and I actually went through a couple of questions that we're going to go through today in the forum and talking about, because this month is Women's History Month. And we thought it was a great idea to launch this month with a lot of conversation about women and women entrepreneurs and women leaders and women who inspire us and who we look up to and admire. And so check out the Profit and Loss podcast from Pathstone Enterprise Center, and that link is in the chat. You can check it out on Spotify or Apple Podcast, Google, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. Check that out. And we're going to have really cool guests for the rest of the season. And then in season 3, which we're a few weeks away from, we're going to be launching some really cool stuff. And Jahida has taken the reins of the Profit and Loss podcast, so she got big plans for it. So, and there's nobody better to lead it. So now I'd like to introduce the reason you're here, the panelists for today's forum. So we have Myshon Bryant, who is the founder and CEO of Salts by MLB. We have Jessica Lewis, who's the president and CEO at LáLew Public Relations. I need to apologize to Jessica because I think the last time I introduced you as Jessica Lew because I'm thinking LáLew. And so it's Jessica Lewis, founder and CEO of LáLew Public Relations, and Becca Delaney Johnson, the founder and CEO at The Cause Collaborative. So they are 3 incredible women and incredible entrepreneurs, and we are very blessed to have them. Thank you all for being here. And what I'll do is I'll invite you each to introduce yourselves and tell me why you agreed to do this. Why do you think having this conversation is important, talking about women in business, women entrepreneurs? And I will start with Myshon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michonne Bryant, and I am the founder and creator of Salted by MLB. My company is in self-care. We create bath salts, salt scrubs, sugar scrubs, bath bombs, shower melts, and lip scrubs. I got into business out of the sheer love of people. I wanted to help others. It helped my mom, so I expanded it to help others. I wanted to participate in this forum today because I think women are awesome. I want to support women wherever I can. And it is Women's History Month. So we need to celebrate women. We need to give a space to allow women to see that anything is possible. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how deferred you are. If you want to get started, you can get started and you can follow your dreams. You're a woman. Hear you roar. So that's why I'm here.
What an answer. That was awesome. Thank you, Michonne. Thank you for being here. We will go to Jessica. Same question, and feel free to introduce yourself.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Jessica Lewis. I am the CEO of LáLew Public Relations, a full service firm specializing in PR, marketing, branding, social media management, website management. Whatever you need, we'll take care of it for you. Actually, in this month, LáLew turns 5 years old. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you so much. Finally got my MWBE designation. So if anyone has been through that process, but the reason why I agreed to take part in this forum is because representation matters. I think that it's important to see women in places where you aspire. You know, you can't be something if you don't see it. And so I think it's important for us to have these conversations with other like-minded women who are in business or who aspire to be in business, just because there's so much that you can learn. We can learn from you and you can learn from us. And so I'm grateful for this opportunity to just have a conversation and to be in a collaborative space. Thank you.
Wonderful. And Jessica, thank you for joining us. And you guys are going to see a pattern here of three women who are impressive. And we will continue that streak with Becca Delaney Johnson. Hi, Becca.
Hey, hi everybody. Becca Delaney Johnson, founder, CEO of The Cause Collaborative. We specialize in nonprofit marketing. So we specifically work on causes, which is why our name is The Cause Collaborative. We help mission-driven organizations tell their story. So really my organization focuses on messaging, content development, and making sure that we're speaking our authentic why. So to build off of that, my authentic why is to support other women. I'm a teacher at heart, like when it comes to who I hire, but I also love being taught. So I'm also someone I can never stop learning. So these environments to remember to slow down and take care of me and what's in my heart and soul. Because a lot of what I do, the cause work never stops. You know, I want to change the world. I think all of us here probably do. That's why we're attending this, but it can be tiring. And not to get too personal, but with a 2-year-old, you know, I do a lot for her. And I think lifting other women right now is something that we need in our community. And I think celebrating Women's History Month for the first time means something different than it ever did for me as a first-time mom. So I'm lifting, you know, my spirits a little bit by being here. I think it's important to slow down and have these conversations and talk about it. But I also think we're going through something big as a country, and there's a lot of injustice going on. So as a woman, I want to power us forward, and I want to help inspire other people to take the risks, take the leaps of faith, and do what is your passion, right? Find it in your career if you can. So that's why I'm here. I hope we can inspire each other today. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Becca. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
You know, there was a question that Jahida and I talked about yesterday on the podcast, and it was one that I was glad I asked. Who is the first female entrepreneur you remember seeing that made you go, oh, wow, I can do this. I don't have to be, you know, a man to do this, or to be, you know, a white guy to do this. Who's the first female entrepreneur that made you realize you could do that, or that you wanted to follow in her footsteps? And I guess I'll open that up to Jessica to answer first.
Yeah, I took some time to think about this question. And honestly, like, I could not really call out a name of a female entrepreneur. Like, I really had to think, but I could tell you who inspired me. And that's Ava Duvernay. And the reason being is because Ava did PR in the film industry before she became a filmmaker herself. And look at the way that she has just blossomed by leaps and bounds, creating all kinds of inspiring films. And now she has her own production company, Array Now. And I watch Ava and I'm so inspired by her. The fact that she's a director, a producer, a writer, like she is really literally making waves in Hollywood as a Black female producer. And how could you not be inspired by something like that?
Adam, you're on mute. Sorry.
Thank you. I wrote Ava Duvernay down. Thank you, Jessica. I'm going to look more into her. So thank you for that. Simone did something that I should remind you guys that you can do. If you guys want to answer these questions as well, those of you who are not on the panel, please feel free to put that in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions for the panelists, please put them in the chat as well. So Becca, that question to you: who's the first female entrepreneur you remember seeing who inspired you or showed you could do this?
So like Jessica, I struggled with, when I read this question, I'm like, how come we didn't amplify women's voices for other women? Like, it's just, sorry, I'm going to keep doing the negative. I'll try to spin that back to positive. So for me, my answer is my mom. So this is weird, but I have to tell you, I didn't pay attention to media, right? I was a kid with a speech impediment. I was a kid who struggled to hear words the right way. Now I public speak for a living, like crazy. So my mom is my inspiration because she knew I was struggling with a speech impediment, and she empowered me because she wanted to do yoga. She never went to college. I'm a first generation scholar, which means neither of my parents went to college. So I was this first generation, family with a working class father, lineman, climbed the poles to fix the electricity, working class, right? And my mother wanted to be a yoga instructor, was very, I like to use the word woo-woo, which is, I hope, safe to say here, like very about finding your energy, about finding your passion. And I used to think, what is my mother doing? Trying to build a career in the living room. I wish she had the internet at the time. Now she's teaching classes on the internet, teaching yoga, and is actually what I would call an inspiring entrepreneur for Rochester, where she's starting a business and learning Instagram. So now I hope she's a model for people, that I didn't see then. But from the comfort of our living room, it was my mom, trying to be an entrepreneur and trying to start a business without knowing how. And now she is finally, right, in a retirement when she's supposed to be not working. She's just now starting and kickstarting her business, and I'm helping her do that. So she's been my inspiration this entire time. Starting a business from home. Just how I started. That's
awesome that you can help her. She inspired you. Now you can give back. That's awesome. How many people have one of those moms who Jahida and I talked about our moms yesterday on the podcast. So that's wonderful. Clearly for most of us, we get to see our moms. That's the first woman to make an impact on us. So yeah. Michonne, same question. First female entrepreneur.
Like the others, I struggled with this question. It was hard to put a face to it, but when I climbed back through my history, I thought about it. The female entrepreneur that came to mind was Oprah Winfrey. Like, she represented, she wasn't the typical body type. She didn't have the glam face or whatever, but Oprah went out there and she smashed boundaries. She let you know that it doesn't matter. If you believe in yourself, you can go past people's expectation, go past those boundaries, those blocks they put up before you. So I really appreciated Oprah paving the way for young people of color to say, especially women, to say, I can do this. I could be on national TV. I can have my own network. I can have my own studios. And the other person was Madam C.J. Walker. Many people don't know this, but I was a cosmetologist for years. I still hold a New York State cosmetology license. So she did the same thing. Back when there wasn't media, she made a name for herself. She had a factory. She had all these amazing opportunities. Just because they believed in themselves and they said, hey, I have something that the world can benefit from. That's what inspired me.
Do we have time to share one more, like from the class?
Sure.
Mine is my grandmother, but mine is kind of like a reverse of the inspiration, because I was her, of course, I say favorite. And so I used to sit there and listen to all of her stories. And the one thing that I remember as a kid is, as she was telling me all the stories, she would lovingly tell me these memories of also regretting not going forward. And so it cuts me like a knife that she's not here to see me do it. but she's literally the reason why I won't tell myself I can't, because she died not thinking that she could. And so now I am literally trying to smash boundaries because of her. I'll get weepy. I'm going to just mute my little self.
I love that. That's great. Thank you for sharing, Shana. That's awesome. I want to switch our focus a little bit from entrepreneurship for just a second and go into leadership. Who was the first woman you guys saw in leadership? Who was the first woman you said, oh, she's a leader? Or maybe you didn't realize it till years later until you read this question. Is there somebody you remember as the first woman in a leadership or power position? Becca?
Why do I keep answering so personally? I apologize. For me, it's my sister. She was the president of her class, middle school up, thought she was going to be the president of the United States. Maybe she will be, right? Like, we never know. But I think it's my sister who really inspired me to be a leader. I didn't really know at a young age what leadership meant. And at St. John Fisher College, I was a first gen scholar. I was awarded a scholarship, thank God, so I could go to college. But I was, responsible to go out into the community and do 200 hours of community service a quarter, right? So that's a lot. The amount of people I met in Rochester, so I'm from Syracuse originally, the amount of leaders I saw running nonprofit sector, executive directors, inspired me to stay here. It was home. I knew within a year, I get chills thinking about it. Every nonprofit I was volunteering at had a woman running the shop. That's when it turned for me. It was the leaders are women. Leaders are women. That's all. What I want to do in my career, it's women at the forefront of the sector. And that inspired me to do what I do today. So it was late. I wish I had an answer for when I was younger. But my sister got me through college, till college. And then it was leaders everywhere, right? Women in the nonprofit sector inspire me every day.
Well, we're glad you stayed in Rochester. So thanks for sticking around.
Stuck here.
Yeah. Michonne, how about you? Who was the first woman leader you remember?
My answer is Shirley Chisholm. Just for the foundation she set, like she had the audacity in a good way. She had the audacity to run for president. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. You're not going to sit here and tell me I can't do what I want to do. And because of that, look where we are today. We have our first person of color for our vice president. I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, even if things don't turn out the way you expect them to turn out, you are setting the groundwork for other people to come in and smash other barriers. So that's my person. She led, and she led well.
Awesome. Great answer. Great. These are all such great answers. I love this. So Jessica.
Yeah, I would say the first time that I saw women in power positions is actually when I was becoming a member of my sorority. I remember going to the meeting that they had where they were just sharing information about the organization. And as they were introducing themselves, one was a principal, one was an engineer, one was in computer information systems. And for me, I was in the urban suburban program. And so I went to a predominantly white school my entire life and had never seen Black women in these positions. And so, when I was just going through that process and just in that informational meeting, I was just like blown away. Like, oh my God, these are power women really doing big things. And so that was the first experience that I can recall.
Wonderful. It's all those experiences. I think a lot of these are shared experiences. I want to step away now from, who you look to and now ask, when I'm not going to personalize it. I'm not a woman. I'm not even going to try. How do you get a seat at the table when it looks like all the chairs are taken? That's the question I had written down. So when people are trying to keep you out, when it doesn't look like you have a seat at the table, how do you get a seat at the table, Jessica?
I would say first, just really being confident in yourself. Like, if you know your stuff, don't be afraid to show that and to really, just give yourself credibility. You know, I think that's very important. I think all of us bring something different to the table. All of us have something to offer. And so don't like shy away. Sometimes we try to dim our light, but to me, let your light shine. Let people know who you are and what it is that you have to offer, because what you have is valuable and people will appreciate it.
Michonne, how do you get a seat at the table when there's no chairs left?
My answer is in line with Jessica's. Like, there's only one you. Be yourself. Like, you have a product that no one else has. You know, you're uniquely you. One time I was playing cards with a much older, wise woman, and someone asked her to show her hand, and she did. And I said, "You showed your hand?" She was like, "She can't play it like me. She's not me." And I was just like, oh my goodness, it doesn't matter if someone has the same exact set of tools that you have. You're still you. You're still uniquely you. No one can do it like you. So be confident in yourself, as Jessica said. Go out there knowing that you're you, you're unique, and you got this.
I think Jahida and I are both cracking up at that. That was good. I like that story. Becca, how do you get a seat at the table?
For me, I completely agree on everything that's been said. And I would add, for me personally, it was showing up. So going anyway, opening a door that felt closed, walking through it anyway. That resonates for me in so many situations where I hesitated, but then went anyway. And I think that's what's helped me get to where I am. I was 26 when I started my business. That's fairly young. It's fairly immature. I had no like true, foundation. I had no background. I didn't have an MBA. I didn't know what I was doing financially at all. But lining up a support system, like mentors, asking for help when you need it, are things that I think help you show up and also get a seat at the table, which are two things I think that go hand in hand. And then last, I wrote down, I had to write it down because I was like, I can't forget this one. Like, you can't please everyone. And if you're not as scared of that, you're more likely to have a seat at the table. Because I think the risk taker in all of us as entrepreneurs here today is what helps us get a seat at the table. The fact that we will take the risk. And I'm a highly sensitive person, I'm not mean, but do we need to kick someone out of the way because they're not supposed to be there and we are? Sometimes that might need to happen. And I think that's the real, to kick them out of the way. I know this is getting recorded and I'm going to look like a jerk, but sometimes we're meant to be there and we just haven't had the door open for us. And so I think it's lining up support systems too.
That's a great point. I like that, Becca. You guys have all talked about, how to get at the table. What advantages, are there advantages to being a woman entrepreneur versus being a male entrepreneur? And what are the disadvantages? What are the struggles and what are the opportunities that women face versus their male counterparts? And I'll start with Michonne.
So some of the advantages, women, we rock. We can pretty much handle whatever is thrown our way. We'll figure it out. Being genius like that. Some of the disadvantages is that when people typically think about business, especially huge business deals, they think of male figures. And so women tend to get underestimated. And therefore, when a woman is owning herself and owning her business and owning her knowledge and wisdom, she can be perceived as abrasive and aggressive when in really she's just a go-getter. So that's some of the connotations that come along with putting yourself out there and going for what you know. But on the flip side of that, like I said, we're amazing and we're ingenious and we know how to soften up when we need to, but we know how to go in there and be like, no, this is this, and this is a hard line and this is where I'm standing. Either you want to cross this line or you're going to stay on that side. But either way, this is where I'm standing. So, that's my take on it.
Good take. Becca, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being a woman entrepreneur?
I think we can be perceived in exactly the way we just heard. The term bossy, that's gone viral before on social media. We've probably all heard that in our lives. And we need to remind ourselves it's okay. you know, to have a voice, to show up, and gosh, I mean, it's about time that we take away that word in those situations, right? It's time to stop calling our kids that, right? If they're standing up in a classroom and the teacher's sending home a report card with, she seems bossy to the other kids. Well, I'm like, nope, she's a future leader. I don't want to hear it. I think another advantage, sorry, I'm so authentically heart to heart. I hope I get asked back. But the other answer I have is like, our bodies are made to create life. Like, because of that, we are so in touch with our surroundings. Sorry, males of the world. But the reality is that gives us a leg up on being able to say we are powerful, we are beautiful, we are able, and we can show up and know and mean that. We are here, you know, and we are going to carve our place in the world. And so that's been a pro. I think the cons are the assumptions of, you know, as a woman, can you do this? And I've actually had clients I've fired that are male. And it's interesting because I've never fired a female client before. And I wonder what that is. Is it personality? What is that? You know, and I will not drop names, but I've certainly had a bad client, and I do believe it's a gender, it becomes a challenge sometimes. So that's me. That's my authentic answer. I hope that's okay. Real talk.
I love real talk. I love it. Great authenticity. Jessica, advantages and disadvantages of being a woman entrepreneur.
I would say right now, has everyone heard of DEI? Diversity, equity, inclusion, right? Like that's a huge buzzword right now. But I think for us as women, inclusion, I think we're, you know, there's a tide that's turning. And so everyone is really recognizing women's place and Black people, other minorities. And so I feel like right now, you know, we're just in a time where it's like our time is now. There was one congresswoman who said, reclaiming my time, you know, so if you ever felt like you were kind of pushed away or, you know, because you're a woman, you didn't get the same opportunities, reclaim your time. And I would say for disadvantages, I would have to echo Becca around the assumptions, Myshon with the perceptions. You know, I do think people kind of have these preconceived notions about women, but here you are, break barriers and continue to forge ahead.
Wow, I love being a spectator to this. So thank you all. Let's see. We've got some more questions here, and if anybody in the chat or anybody in the group here has questions, please put them in the chat. We will make sure to ask them. Let's see. What women inspire you today? Who do you look to today as sources of inspiration to be the woman you want to be? I'll start with Becca.
Michelle Obama, but that was already said in the chat, so I'm stealing that. But I was like, yep. Michelle Obama, because I think I was at an age when Michelle went into office. I mentioned college being the time I started paying wicked close attention to all these women in leadership. And because Michelle's in the highest place, right, in the White House, I started to go, hold on. I wanted her to be president, right? Like I love me some Barack, but don't we all? But I love Michelle, and I just can't. I've listened to, I'm sure you guys know, but she's everywhere. She's got podcasts now. She's got books. I mean, I'm reading as much as I possibly can about her and her life story. Other than who inspires me today, I certainly agree with all the women on this call that all the women that have brought up, there's only been like one that I'm embarrassed to have not known and Googled and said, how do we learn about the women we should be paying attention to? How do we get them in front of the women that need the inspiration every day? I want a list of women to follow on Instagram. Maybe that's something we can do in the chat too, is, you know, before we hang up, like, tell me who to follow on Instagram, because I can't just have a Michelle Obama, a Brene Brown. I have different reasons for sort of my pockets of people I follow. But that's what I need in my life. That's what lifts me up every day. That's what makes my heart happy, is following women and, you know, having these voices to inspire my daughter, right? To remind Kamala, right, being in the biggest place she could be, in a woman of color. My child's mixed race. I'm very excited to have her look up. My nieces, my nephews, all multiracial. I want people in my life to be able to look at women of color in particular in leadership roles. And I'm so happy we are finally able to authentically, I'm not worried that they will not have what I had, which is, who do you look up to, right? Why do I not remember as a kid women in leadership? Because it wasn't there. It wasn't taught to me. So let's get it in the history books, Women's History Month. Let's get it in the history books. Let's make women the entire book. It's time. So I'm looking forward to my daughter and my nieces having more than I did.
Wonderful.
Take it so serious.
Michonne, what women inspire you today?
To piggyback off of that, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. It's just because she stands up in a place, even though she knows there's tons of people who don't believe she should be there. They're not supporting her. And she is still confident enough to stand in her own two shoes and stand up there and take her place and wear it proudly. And I am proud of her for that. And it gives me encouragement to go into board meetings and whatnot and stand my place. I don't care if you don't feel I should be here. I'm here. Deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here, deal with it. I love that. I'm writing that down. Let's see. Jessica, who inspires you? What women inspire you today?
I would say there's a lady named Rochelle Graham. She's on Instagram. She actually is the CEO of Allocate Naturals, which is a natural hair beauty line. She's constantly putting out content all the time. She's constantly talking about what it means to be a wife, a mother, a business owner, etc. But another person who I've been watching in leadership is actually LáLew Warren. And I've been watching because when you're in politics, first off, that's just a lot in and of itself, okay? And you face so many different challenges. You have to deal with the court of public opinion. Everybody has their opinion about what's going on. We know what's happening with RPD. But I'm watching how she's handling herself, even with the issues around the campaign finance. So I do a lot with media. So I'm even watching how stories are being framed and told about that. But we also know that there's a lot of things that happen in other people's campaigns that don't make the media, so why is it hers? And so I, want to encourage everybody on this line to be critical consumers of media and to make sure that we're watching and looking at the stories that aren't being told. But Van, who owns People Choice, I live in the 19th ward. She owns People's Choice. She just had her 20th anniversary. And so the mayor came, did a presentation, presented her with the key to the city. And I'm watching the video, the live that the city is streaming while the mayor and Van are speaking. The mayor leans over and tucks her hanger tag in her shirt. And I said, now look at this. LáLew is still watching out for her sister regardless. You see what I'm saying? It's those kind of moments where sometimes you need to fix your sister's crown. So just because you're the first lady of the city, that doesn't mean that you can't still be your sister's keeper.
Fix your sister's crown. I love that. I love that. I have a page of notes. So the next question, as a leader in your business and in your industry, how do you work to inspire others, especially women who may want to follow in your footsteps? And we'll go to Michonne for that one.
I just be myself and tell them that I'm here for them, encourage them to follow their dreams, no matter how far-fetched they are. That's why I'm here today. When I was younger, my mom, she always spoke life into me. Everybody used to always tell her, your daughter has crazy visions. And she was and she can follow any one of them that she wants to. She never limited my creativity. She was like, if you want to do this, you can do it. And so that from a young kid, I was always confident in going for what I wanted. And I try to instill that in other women. I don't care if it's just a brief conversation. If they say, hey, I've been thinking about this. Well, you should go do it, investigate it, do what you got to do. It's you, do what you got to do to build you up. If it's something it keeps coming across your mind, whatever, it's supposed to be done. You don't know how many people you can help just by going for it. So I just try to encourage them to go for their dreams and don't feel like it's too saturated. A lot of people say, well, so many people are doing this already, but no one is you. So I don't care if one person supports you. That's one person that needed what you had. So that's what I'm rambling now, but that's my answer.
That's great advice too. Thank you.
I'm gonna
Becca.
Pop
or
in.
Jahida.
Sorry. I'm just you see me smiling and nodding. I'm like, yes. But to Myshonne's point, I will say, I think there's a lot of negative self-talk and just other people speaking their fears into your life. And so I think as long as, you know, we're aware and we can separate what someone else's fears are, you know, versus ours, I think that's a step forward. And I think that's beautiful that your mom, you know, kind of from the beginning was like, you can do this. Because I know some people don't have that support necessarily from their parents because, you know, they grew up in a different generation where they didn't see those possibilities available to them. And I think it starts young, right? You know, for people that have children or nieces and nephews and things like that, we have to just be more proactive at like positive affirmations and pushing that needle forward. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. I will always take your 2 cents. So thank you. Becca, how do you inspire others?
I think it's hard, you know, being the kid who had the speech problem, right? To the anxiety problem, to now I have PTSD from a pretty traumatic birth with my daughter, to being real about mental illness. And I like to call it PTSI, you know, not PTSD. It's something that happened to me, right? It's something I can work on. And I think being a near miss, like someone who almost passed away, I hope to inspire people in that way. I haven't found my outlet yet. I haven't found my platform of how I'm going to do it. But I think I can help make sure that moms and babies in particular are looked at seriously and that we advocate for ourselves and providers pay closer attention. Yes, I get sad thinking about it. So you're getting real Becca this year because it's a lot, right? To be in a pandemic, to spend time thinking about it. And then fast forward to that question, I just want to inspire people to advocate and be themselves. I want people to be comfortable talking about their mental illness. I want people to be comfortable talking about the traumas in their life. I work on that every day. It's hard. It's a hard space to work and play and live and breathe. But if you keep fighting, you know, through that, you can become an inspiration just by helping, right? And moving the needle. And so you're getting a lot of Becca today. And then in a nutshell, students, the easier, less personal answer is students, getting myself around young women. So that means internship. So specific to my career, it's internship programs. So I partner with St. John Fisher College because that's my alma mater. And I look at their first generation program, kids that have never gone, you know, didn't think they'd have the opportunity to go to college and did. And then service-based scholars come and intern with me directly. And that's my way to continue to build up leaders of tomorrow through that program I was a part of. And so that's been a beautiful fit. And I've had an intern every semester since 2017. So although it's only one spot because I can't manage too many people and I don't have the time as one person, but I do feel like I'm making a difference by particularly selecting women and females for that internship program. That's my way to do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Becca. And thank you for being real. We wouldn't want you any other way.
No, you're getting it all. You're getting the raw.
That's cool. I love it. I love it. Jessica, how do you inspire others?
Yeah, so first off, sending hearts to Becca. Thank you. We appreciate your sharing. But for me, through LáLew, it's definitely through internship programs. I have a very robust internship program. Hey, hearts, Becca, hearts.
Oh, I love that. I need those. I need
But yeah, because one thing about public relations industry that I'm in, it's not very diverse, like at all, very dominated by white people. And so I've had the opportunity to work with some wonderful Black girls who are pursuing PR, you know, as a career, and to really train them, to nurture them, to pour into them, and to help refine them as young women, not only in PR, but as a Black woman, you know, just navigating space in this world.
Wonderful. I want to ask a very selfish question that I did not put on the list here. And I am going to open this up to anybody and everybody. I know this is, let's do it. How can men be better stewards of equality and inclusion as it pertains to gender? How can we be better at I don't know, is it helping make room at the table? What is, it's an open-ended question and I have nowhere to go after that. So I'm going to open it up to anybody who wants to answer.
How about having them acknowledge that we are forces in the first place? Endorsing us. Hello, we gave you life, bruh. Like, just let it be. Like, let it be. Let this happen because it's necessary. Y'all have, like, overwhelmed us with your masculinity. Let us get in there. Just saying.
Yeah, I want to share.
I just want to say, I'm not asking anybody to let me do anything. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying access is my right. It's your right. And I think it's more about us. So many of you have said that already about the confidence and the delivery. And as more of us are leaders and our business owners, we provide that platform for other women. And I just want to say I appreciate all three of you and your stories and what you've said, and you have inspired me today. Thank you. And I wasn't correcting you, sis. I was just saying, like, we use the word let.
Anyway, we pushing anyway. You know what I mean.
I don't, did anybody get, I want to make sure I'm keeping that open to anybody else who wants to answer. How can men be better stewards?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question because it's very similar to, you guys, I know you've heard of allyship, anti-racist type of work, and the work that white people have to do in terms of checking their privilege, being very cognizant and aware of that. And so for men, there is privilege that comes with being a man. And so I just think being cognizant of that and making space and doing so intentionally. There was 2 board positions for the New York State Board of Regents, and a colleague in a network that I'm a part of put his hat in the ring, but a Black woman won. A Black woman was elected. And when I saw the results, I was like, oh, I know he probably felt a certain kind of way, but now is our time.
And I think checking the privilege and realizing privilege is something we have to unlearn. We can chuck it at the door and say we're gonna, but at the end of the day, it's so innately, it's systemic. It's something we grew up with, as generational. It might've been at the dinner table with my Nana, my Italian grandmother, in ways I didn't quite realize until now. And it's unlearning that, being married to a Black man, having my sister be married to a Black man. And it's not just race, it's gender, right? It's privilege on gender. So you think about my father and how he was raised, and you think about the things he said to me that now you start to question. And you're trying to teach your father to unlearn. He doesn't identify as being someone that's saying something inappropriate to a female, to a woman. But why did you care about my hair color? Why do you care about my hair color, Dad? That's my choice. That's my right. I'm a woman. You don't get to tell me not to wear sweatpants. Okay, maybe if I'm trying to go to school in something really awkward and uncomfortable. But like this is the type of stuff where you start to wonder about the gender dynamic. And I don't know, it gets complicated. Let's just break this down, and I want to be real, and then I'll stop. But like the reality is there's so much complicated stuff when it comes to privilege that we just need to realize there's something we need to do to grow as a society. It's an effort. It's a constant reminder that you are not perfect the way you are. You were raised a certain way. You had different circumstances than somebody else had. You got to meet people where they're at, and you've got to unlearn some of these behavioral, now we know, racist, being anti-racist, right? And I don't know if we have a word for what males are doing to females. I wish we did, because I want to make a marketing campaign and I want to plaster bus ads. I want to do my part to make sure that men are educated on this issue. In the way that race is being communicated right now, I feel like we need to do something as a community around all of the inequities. And for this conversation, gender in particular. So it's hard.
Can I just add to what you said? A lot of what my foundation is for Our Mommy Village is based on women and the village itself. If we think back to early civilization when Africans were running their villages, they were very successful, but they were very successfully run by women. And a lot of the model that I teach a lot of the moms that I work with is really kind of connected to being a village. Like, we literally are all like this. So if one of us is suffering, all of us chip in to figure out how to work it together. And I think, you know, that's where I've drawn my strength from, just watching other women just be dope. And, you know, like that model right there was just so evident to me that that's what I find comfort in right now.
I also believe there needs to be an internal review. Like, they need to look within to see what they can do to dismantle the good old boys club. Like, you know, it's time to let females at the table. It's time to let females come in with ideas and not just like push them to the side because it didn't come from a male counterpart. So I think it's a lot of internal work that needs to be done as well. Like, well, we've been doing this for years like this. Well, it's time to break that and usher in a new way of doing things.
I think for me, working with Adam, it's been a great experience. But it's one of those things where, like, he's so self-aware and he's very open about if he doesn't understand something or he doesn't want to come off a certain way. Like earlier today, you know, he'll ask before he just assumes. And I think that is something that is important with anything, right? Even when we're talking about race, again, like, you know, to Becca's point, people grow up with, you know, people are raised a certain way. And so now you're trying to unlearn some of these things. So instead of just kind of assuming, let's ask, let's have the conversation, let's open up dialogue. I think that's kind of the first and most important step to making any kind of change. And I think we're moving in that direction, but obviously we have a ton of work to do still. So Adam, thank you for being such a great male coworker. Just a coworker in general.
Thank you. Thank you, Jahida. And thank you. I want to tell everybody a quick story, and then I'm going to ask our final question of the day. But you all gave me a lot of grace, the three panelists and Jahida. I asked a question about just some semantic stuff, and I didn't want to. I used the word semantics in the email, and I even felt bad about using the word semantics because it's not semantics. I asked if the phrase "woman entrepreneur" is offensive, or there's a better way to say that, because we don't say male entrepreneur. And for me, pretty much my whole life, I grew up thinking entrepreneur, man, you know, jeans, t-shirt, you know, Silicon Valley, that kind of thing. But I asked that question to our panelists and to Jahida, is there a better phrase? And they were also just gracious and honest in their responses. So thank you all for being gracious and honest. But I'll tell you that I've been doing this work for 10 years. And I'm going to try to not get emotional doing this. I've been doing this work for 10 years. I've been working with entrepreneurs from Indiana to Buffalo. And the ones who are the most inspiring, the ones who I know that who I'd want to hire, or who I'd want to hire me, 8 out of 10 are women. And they are passionate about their businesses. They have I told Jahida this yesterday on the podcast. I see a doctor, and my doctor is a woman, And if you look at these studies, you see that women doctors have lower mortality rates for their patients. They have fewer mistakes, and it's because they have to do these things that they have to go above and beyond just a normal responsibility and call of duty, because they know that they're being held to a different standard, and that any mistake is looked at much differently than their male counterparts' mistakes. And I think that female entrepreneurs are under the same kind of scrutiny and just the imbalance. So I hope you know that I see you, and I will do what I can to make sure that others see that as well. And you all inspire me. Everybody on this call, the fact that you showed up, and those who are entrepreneurs inspire me further. So thank you for what you do and how you do and how vocal you are about this. It is needed, if not for everybody on this call who can share in your experiences, but for people like me who can't share your experiences. I don't know what that feels like, and I need to hear it. And any guy listening to this or watching this after the fact, watch it again, listen 3 times, as many times as it takes to get it. So that's my piece. But I want to ask our final question here. You have an audience now, and I think I have some ideas for how we're going to use this audio afterwards, but you have an audience right now. If you could give advice to every woman in this room, or every woman listening to this, what's a couple sentences or one sentence that you would say to them that they need to hear, especially those who are entrepreneurs and leaders, just any woman that you're trying to talk to? What's one sentence you would try to get to them? And I will start with Michonne.
I will tell them that you have a voice, you are valuable, you are beautiful, you are needed. Go for it.
Lovely. Becca.
I think it's keep going, find your circle, and you got this.
Sorry to unmute myself. Very good. Jessica.
I would say walk by faith and not by sight.
I hope everybody's writing these down. I get to go back and look at the recording immediately. So I know that some of our panelists may have to go. We've got about a minute and a half or 2 minutes here. Does anybody have any questions, or does anybody else want to say anything before we close out? I'm going to open the floor up here.
I think it was an amazing forum. Like, I literally am so excited that I decided to make sure that I was parked right here. So y'all have a wonderful weekend. Y'all all were amazing.
I will echo that, Shane. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Jessica, Michonne, and Becca. This was phenomenal. This went better than I expected, and I expect them to go very well. So thank you all for being here. We will make sure we're going to get this out on YouTube here soon. So if you guys want to rewatch it, or if you want to share it with others, please check that out on YouTube. Jahida, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being my counterpart. Thank you for being my executive producer on all the stuff we do. And thank you for making sure that everything gets done. And thank you for keeping me honest and self-aware. And keep in mind that we have Beyond Profit Tuesdays and Thursday nights, 5:30 to 7 for those of you who are in that. We're almost done, just a couple more weeks. And then She Means Business starts at the end of the month. Open house is on the 18th. First class is on the 30th. Get all your stuff in by the 22nd. The Profit and Loss podcast is up, and I think I'm going to try to convince Jahida to use this audio for a special episode of the Profit and Loss podcast, because I think everybody needs to hear this, and I want to send this to about 300 people. So with that, I will wish you all a happy Women's History Month. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for inspiring me and the current generation and the next generation. Be safe, wash your hands, wear your mask. We'll see you guys later.
Everybody.
Bye.
Be well.